Hi, and welcome to Prepping Essentials. If you're a regular viewer of my channel, then you will know that I've been experimenting with growing vegetables in my very small garden, and that when I was growing potatoes, I found something weird growing in the garden which I'd never seen before: potato berries. Well, in my last garden video, I harvested the potatoes and the potato berries. And in that video I did say that I'd let you know how I got on extracting the potato berry seeds. So let's find out. You'll remember a few weeks ago I did a video when I collected my potato berries. I've got them on the windowsill here, and to be fair, they're still ripening. They're in different stages. Some are more advanced ripening than others. These are still quite firm, so what I'm trying to do is pull out the ones that are more ripe, and I'll leave these to sit on the windowsill and ripen a little bit further. But today all I'm going to do is have a go at extracting the seeds from these potato berries. And all I'm going to do with that is have some water in a dish, and literally no science involved in this. I've got a little sieve that I'll use later and some paper tissue, but it's just a case of taking the potato berry and splitting it down the middle, and then one by one we'll have a go at extracting out the seeds. Now this is the first time that I've done this, but you can see the seeds inside, so all I'm going to do is literally just ease them in to this bowl with my fingers. I think the ladies out there would probably have a little bit more success and certainly be able to do this a lot quicker than I can, because they're going to tend to have better nails than I have. So just a little combination of squeezing the berry, running my nail down, and to be fair, this is a bit easier than I thought it was going to be, because they are coming out fairly easily. I'm trying not to get all of the pulp of the berry. I'm trying to just get the seeds themselves. They seem to be in little compartments. Don't know if you can see that. Yeah, you can probably see on there actually. They're all buried in their own little compartments. So I am just easing them with my nail, and it's kind of rupturing the wall of each of the compartments, and then as I just rinse it in the bowl, the seeds are just literally falling out. Don't know if you can see or not on the video. I guess I'll find out when I do the editing. I'd hate to go through all of this and then find at the end that it's not worked, or you couldn't see. And I think, to be fair, on this half of the berry, that's about as good as I'm going to get. I'll just pop that in the bin, and let's have a look at this other one, the other half. You can see them there under the surface. They are coated in a little bit of a jelly substance, a little bit like tomatoes, and as I said in my original video, potatoes are actually from the same plant genus as tomatoes. But just ease out that core from the middle. It gives me a little bit better access. Trying not to lose any, but it's amazing how many there are coming out of just this one berry. So you can see that there doesn't look like there's much inside, but as you start digging around, can you see that or not? All of a sudden they appear out of all these little compartments. Therapeutic work, this. So if you're feeling all stressed out, here's a little top tip for you. Get yourself some potato berries and start harvesting the seeds. I decided to do this today because it was actually throwing down with rain, and Sod's Law says that as soon as I start doing something on in the kitchen or on the video, the sun comes out, and looking out the window, it's a glorious day now. We really have had bizarre weather over this last few months. Not been great for farmers. I watched farmers across the fields just over there trying to harvest some wheat earlier. They came out, I think it was last Friday night, last Friday night, when it had been a really hot day all day, and I guess they thought now was the time. They got 2 fields, I think, done. They didn't do that one that you can see in the first field there, because the next day the heavens opened and we had torrential rain for the next few days. So that is only one berry. I'm hoping you can see. There's actually an awful lot of seeds in there. I would say that there's got to be getting on for 100 seeds in that dish, and I've only done one berry. So I have a few more to go at, and rather than you just watching me seed away, I'll just pause the video for a second. So I'm down to the last one, or the last half of one. You can see that you have to actually push out with your nail to get these out, and as you open up the actual berry, there's quite a hard pulpy piece at the top of the berry. If you push that to one side, that allows you to get into the actual meat, and you do have to keep scraping away with your fingernail. They are actually buried quite deep into that pulpy interior. You can see there as I split that open, they're all inside there. So when you scrape your first seeds out, don't just assume that's it. Keep digging into the flesh or meat or whatever you want to call it of the actual berry, because they are in layers within that that flesh. But I think that's just about cleaned. Okay, so a little bit messy, but I don't have anyone to shout at me, so that's okay. You end up with a residue. You will get some flesh dropping into your dish as you're trying to feed the seeds out. What I'll do, I think, is I'll just try rinsing this so that you actually see what's inside. I do need to be a little bit careful. I don't want all that hard work poured down the sink. Apologies for the back here, but bear with me for a second or two. It's a little bit clearer. Hopefully, if I put that underneath, you might be able to see the seeds down there. I've done 6 berries, the ones that I thought were the ripest. The rest are on the windowsill. I'll just leave them to ripen off. But I'm going to drain this through a strainer and then try and get the seeds onto some tissue paper just to dry out. So let's see what happens with that. Now I'm worried because I've got to get that in the strainer without losing everything. Okay, here we go. That wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be fair. I'll try and just rinse them while they're in that strainer. Slowly lift the tap, I don't want it all overflowing and going down the drain. Let that just drain off. It's obviously taking a while to drain through the strainer because it's full of seeds. And I can see there is the odd little bit of pulp or flesh in there as well. Not a lot though, to be fair. Okay, let's pop this out and see what happens. There we go. I think I've just thrown about 20 down the sink. But there are an awful lot of seeds in those 6 little berries. Not sure if you can see that, so I'm going to take the camera off there. Just bear with me a second. Okay. That's better. You can see now. Lots and lots and lots and lots of seeds. And the odd bit of flesh that has dropped in there as well. So I'm just going to leave those to dry out. I have no idea how long it's going to take to do that. Video's gone all fuzzy as well. But I'll leave those to dry out and then we'll come back to those once they're dry. So the potato seeds are done. It's time to move on to collecting some broccoli seeds. So while the potato seeds are drying, I've harvested this broccoli seed and I'm going to collect those. I have done another one just the other day actually, but it never occurred to me to video it. So I figured while I was doing the potato seeds, I may as well do this at the same time. Same kind of thing, seed's a seed. I did take some videos earlier in the week. My broccoli raised bed, broccoli and cauliflower actually, has been completely destroyed by caterpillars this year. I might pop it onto the channel, I might not. Serve as a warning for other people. As I say, the weather has been really weird this year, and for some reason the caterpillars have just gone crazy. The numbers of them talk about plague. It certainly has been a plague. Anyway, these are dead straightforward. Wait until they dry completely on the plant. Take the seed pod, and all you're doing is you're just pushing down with your fingernails and it will split open. And then when it does, just peel it back and you'll see all of the seeds inside, and just rub your finger or fingernail down there and they'll drop out into the dish. Like the potato berry seed, you'll find that these are compartmented as well. There's not just one row, there's actually a couple of rows of seeds in there. So just take the time to make sure that you have got them. Some of these are a little bit green, so I'm not sure whether they would actually germinate or not, but I guess we'll see. The ones that I did earlier in the week, I actually got them in the drawer somewhere. Yeah, there we go. I've already got quite a lot in here actually. This is a recycled. It's one of my powdered soup sachets. I just washed it out. I don't know if you can see those. I'll pop them in there in a second. Washed it out, and because it's foil lined, in fact I'll just tip them in here. Just not going to make any difference. So you can see that's what I got. The other day. So I'll just add to these with the final stalk. Oh, these are much better in here. They're well developed. Scrape those out. So again, this will keep me out of mischief, take away a little bit of stress, and add to my stores of seeds without having to go out and buy them. Some of these are quite stubborn and don't want to come out. So again, rather than you watching me plough through all of these endless stalks, I'll just pause it and we'll come back in a second. So we're down to the last couple now, thankfully. You can see as I open up the pod, they are just lined up ready to fall. And remember, there are two sides. See, there's a completely different side. It's not just one row of seeds, there's actually two in the seed pod. Last one. There we go. There's one side. And then if I can get my nail in, yeah, there we go. This other side just does not want to give up without a fight. There we go. There's the other side. So, there we go. Lots and lots of broccoli seeds. I don't know how many there are in there. There's a few, couple of hundred maybe. Not as generous as the potato seeds, where there were literally thousands. But you'll see when I pulled them off the dried sheets in later on in the video how many there were. That's broccoli seed, so they can just sit now. In fact, there are a couple of green ones in there, so I think I'll just leave that to one side for a moment, just to let them air in case there is any moisture. I don't want to put moist seeds in the packet, but that's the broccoli. Well, here we are about, I guess, an hour after I harvested those seeds. You just see me put them onto this tissue paper. I actually popped them on a little tray just into the oven. The oven wasn't actually on in terms of heat. All I had on was the actual circulating fan. So I left them in there and it's about an hour, as I say, an hour later. This is what I've ended up with. Top tip, if you're going to try this, don't use tissue paper. It was a bit of a nightmare. You're better off using something like this, some kind of thick brown paper, or maybe cooking parchment paper, I don't know. But trying to get the seeds off the tissue paper once the tissue paper had dried out was a bit of a nightmare. As I say, I only did 6 berries, and this is what I've ended up with. And there are, alright, there's not millions of seeds, but there's hundreds and hundreds of seeds. I'll just take the camera off the tripod and you can get a decent look at that, so just bear with me a second. Okay, so here we go. So there's the actual seeds, and as I say, to say that's 6 berries, there's an awful lot of them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let those dry out a little bit. I'll pop them into this little glass glass tub and just leave them overnight, make sure they are thoroughly dried. And I'll do those other potato berries another time when they've ripened a little bit more. Some are okay now, I think, but to err on the side of caution, I'll do those later. So that's the potato berry seeds. I'm really very pleased with the results of the potato berry harvesting. I've got lots of seeds which I will definitely experiment with and see what I can grow from them, and I've still got 9 berries left, so at some point this week I'll harvest those as well. In my previous videos, I think it was the very first video on the potato berries, one of the guys in the comments, a guy called Russ Meek, did say if I got any seeds, could he have some? Well, Russ, yes, absolutely you can. If you want to drop me an email and give me your contact details, then I'll post some out to you. And if anybody else does want some, please feel free to do the same. I will leave my email address somewhere in the description box or comment section for you to get in touch if you want some of those. I did touch on the subject of my raised bed and the broccoli that was in there and mentioned it had been a bit of a disaster. It was, and I've added a couple of videos onto the end of this one so you can see just how much of a disaster it was and learn from my mistakes. So back on the 25th of July I did an update on the garden, and this is how the broccoli and cauliflower looked. They were coming on really well, as were the peas and the beans, and unfortunately that's when the bad weather started. We had scorching hot days for a couple of weeks, followed by torrential downpours, followed by really hot weather again, and the butterflies absolutely snowballed in numbers, and as a result of that, so too did the caterpillars. And over the next few weeks, this is what happened. Well, what can I say? Every time you clear the garden, the weather breaks again, and we end up with millions upon millions upon millions of these little critters. They are absolutely everywhere and completely destroying the broccoli and the cauliflower leaves. Well, I think that's what you call total devastation. Every single plant has been stripped bare. Cauliflower heads stubbornly resisting, but I think that they're going to die off now that there's no leaves. So that's the power of the caterpillars for you. Well, the caterpillar experience with the broccoli and the cauliflower is a lesson learned. I think I mentioned in a previous video that what I should have done was to net off that raised bed. Having said that, the weather has been particularly weird this year, and I've never seen caterpillars in those numbers. But lesson learned for next time. This is all an experiment, and I'm trying to gain experience as I go along so that I can put it to use should I need to create my own bigger sized garden when something hits the fan. I've not entirely given up with cauliflower and broccoli. I've taken out the destroyed plants and I've already reseeded. I'm also putting some potatoes in this weekend as well to follow on from the crop that I just had, and to see how these kinds of things cope with the winter that we have in my area. So onward and upward. Well, that's it for this video. I do hope that you found something in there that was of use to you. If you did like the video, then please do click on the like button. Also feel free to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already done so. As always, I welcome any comments, questions or suggestions you might have. Just leave them in the comments section below. But for now, thanks for watching and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.